In the heart of Dixie where the eagles fly, land of the brave where the bullets don't lie. We fought for our freedom with guns by our side. Red, white, and blue, our southern pride. Raise the flag high, let freedom ring from the rolling mountains to the flatlands. We sing, no one can take our rights. Our Second Amendment will defend our land with every bullet we send. We were born in the USA, land of the free, with guns in our hands. We'll forever be Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days.
Well, hey there. I'm Sully, and as always, welcome back to the Gun Club. Alrighty. Got a fun night planned for us tonight. Got a few interesting things I'm going to cover. Couple of court decisions, court situations, and then we're definitely going to be digging in deep into good guys and girls with guns. Now, I've got to say, before we get started, before we get into everything, while people are sort of filing in, popping their popcorn, pouring a drink, whatever the case may be, when we talk about good guys and girls with guns, there's one person that we just can't leave out of that discussion. It is somebody who has been on the channel a couple times, who I've given multiple shout outs to, somebody who I think is absolutely one of the greatest leaders in the 2A community, especially in dealing with, getting women involved in the 2A, getting, empowering women to be their own protectors, to be their self-defenders, empowering women to be safer, empowering women regardless of age or race or creed or color, anything else. She works tirelessly with DV survivors. She works with all sorts of people all across the country. And it just so happens it's her birthday month, and she just hit the big 5-0. So without any more further ado and build up, we got to give a big happy birthday to Carrie Sloan over at We the Female. Now, if you're not familiar with Carrie, you can check out her organization here. She runs a nonprofit. She basically goes out and enables women who may not otherwise be able to afford. As we know, some places like to make it a little bit cost prohibitive for people to get carry permits, for people to get training, for this, that, and the other. She travels around the country doing it. She doesn't just do it in her backyard. She just doesn't do it at a local range. No, this woman travels around the country. She has spoke at multiple national level events, presenting that why firearms are the ultimate equalizer for a female when confronting a possibly larger or stronger or physically aggressive male. So we've got to give her a huge shout out. Nothing but the utmost respect for this lady. Like I said, she's done wonderful, wonderful things. And when I was looking for, clips of her, this is one of the pictures she put up for her 50th birthday. And I figured we just had to share it out there. Like I said, if you haven't checked out Carrie over at We the Female, definitely, she's a great follow on Twitter and really some inspirational stuff there. Beyond that, I've got to say this. I found an interesting picture she posted up today. This is actually on her Twitter feed, was posted a little bit ago. And I want to just read this post to you to give you some idea of who she is and what she really does for people. It opens out, I refuse to allow you to believe your age and disability prevents you from learning how to defend yourself with a gun. This student is 75 years old with many physical challenges. She didn't think she could learn to operate a firearm because so many people, from gun store employees to instructors, told her it'd just be too much for her. I refused to believe she couldn't do it. We started her with a Smith & Wesson EZ 9mm. While she could operate it, her arthritis prevented her from physically shooting more than a couple of rounds. So she moved to a Taurus TX22. Yes, the 22 long is a viable option for certain people and situations, and if that's what she could do, heck, more power to you. Not only was she able to successfully operate it, she was dropping rounds center mass on the target. Her whole attitude shifted. She came to class embarrassed and intimidated. She left proud and excited, all because my team and I believed in her and took the time to show her that she could do it and helped her build the confidence to know her life is worth defending. It's disappointing to see that she had been convinced she couldn't operate a gun, but I'm glad she found it and reached out to me so my team could help show her that yes, she can. This student is also one of our financial aid recipients. No one should ever be decided the ability to learn to use or own a gun because they can't afford it, especially our elders, single mothers, and abuse or stalking victims. Helping women embrace self defense with the most effective tool available to them, a firearm, is the battle I've chosen to fight and the hill I will die on. So, folks, for what it's worth, like I said, happy birthday, Carrie. Happy 5-0. You know, definitely somebody who I've got the utmost respect for. You know, you can tell me that, oh, you do this and you do that, and people do X and people do Y and people do Z. She does it. She actually lives it. She doesn't actually go out there and just talk about it. Talk is cheap. This lady busts her ass to help people be able to defend themselves, protect themselves, and potentially save their own lives. So, yeah, big hats out for Carrie for her 5-0. We wanted to put that out there. And, you know, if you want to check out wethefemale.org, I know she's got a bunch of stuff on there. She works not only with students, she also works with instructors to help instructors become better instructors when dealing with sensitive situations like a DV survivor who might be a little standoffish with a large, loud male instructor. So, yeah, a lot of respect for Carrie and what she's doing and what she's done. So, again, we've got to throw that out there for her. And, you know, again, she's our crazy female. And I will say this, if you're in a gun store and you ever see her in there, just don't tell her that all the little girl needs is a 22 or a 38 snubby in her purse because it's easy for the little girl to operate. She'll probably like chew you up and spit you out and then post the results on Twitter for the rest of us to laugh at. And I will, so for what it's worth. But yeah, big hats off to Carrie Sloan for her 5-0. Oh, yes. She definitely hit the big 5-0 comment, and she's going to earn that one. All righty, let's see who all we've got winding into the Rumbleverse tonight. I see Minnie has wound in already. Good evening, ma'am. Hope you're doing wonderfully. Hope you're enjoying your time off from work. Yeah, my work schedule has been kind of a little crazy recently, if y'all haven't noticed. We're going to be having a stream tonight. We're also going to be doing a stream Saturday night. I've got a few incidents I'm doing a deep dive on, and we're going to be filing those in on Saturday. So for what it's worth, you know, we'll be back on Saturday night having a really interesting time over there. Now, onwards and upwards. A few things we need to talk about. First off, we got a Supreme Court decision back on Rahimi. If you're not familiar with Rahimi, it was basically challenging the question as to whether or not somebody with a DV protective order against them should be allowed to own firearms, or should this DV order suspend their Second Amendment rights? There's a lot of questions on that, especially since many times these protective orders are granted ex parte, meaning without the other party there. Meaning someone goes and says, look, I'm scared of him or her, my ex, whatever the case may be. I think they're going to hurt me. And therefore the judge says, yes, I agree, signs the protective order, because no judge wants to turn down the protective order and be the one that somebody ends up getting injured or assaulted by. So, yeah, we're going to just say that, and they get rubber stamped a lot of times. That suddenly triggers law enforcement to go to someone's house and confiscate their firearms because one person made an allegation. There's no real investigation as to the truth or fiction of it, and that all has to come out later, after someone has been deprived of a constitutional right. So, the Supreme Court came out with the Rahimi ruling. Now, the Circuit Court originally affirmed the decision. The District Court sort of ruled back on it and said, no, we think this is overstepping. And again, the fact that it's in the 18922 is one of the prohibitions. Thou canst not possess a firearm while you're under a DV restraining order. Well, the Supremes came down and they came out with 8-1 decision, and it was against Rahimi. Now, there's a few things I want to say. First of all, don't get discouraged. Rahimi was a long shot, a very, very long shot situation. The situation went on, and Rahimi was not the poster child we wanted. I'll just say that. He was one we had. We did not get our choice. Rahimi had a bit of a checkered past. There are not a lot of people in the world who would objectively look at Rahimi's antics and actions and say, yeah, I want him to have more guns. Just wasn't going to happen. Now, the Supreme Court did affirm a lot of things, but they went short of reversing on that. So, unfortunately, we lost it. And this tells us something. We won on the bump stock situation with the Supremes. Look at who our plaintiff was, or look at who our person was. It was Michael Cargill, a fantastic, upstanding businessman, pillar of his community. He was going to be the kind of person that they said, no, we don't want to rule against him. You look up and you can Google Rahimi's track record. Hell, I could probably read his rap sheet and his antics, have a stream out of that myself. But my point is, so we lost on Rahimi. Okay. Now, we are a organization in the 2A community that's taken a lot of losses over the last few years. This loss on Rahimi was a long shot at best. We didn't think we were going to win it, but at least the court did, agree to take up the case. They granted cert, allowed it to be presented. So from that side, we're very happy about that. Secondly, the fact they did look at it and affirmed a lot of the aspects of Bruin on it. So, okay, that's a positive. But lastly, like I said, you just look at Mr. Rahimi, and he wasn't the poster child we wanted, folks. Oh, boy, he wasn't. And yeah, he's an interesting character. Now, I don't know him. He could be a really nice guy with just some bad impulse control, anger management days. He may be a super fantastic guy who's just done some dumb stuff in his life. But his track record is not one that the Supremes were going to sign off on and say, yeah, give this guy lots of guns. So I think he shot up a Taco Bell or something at one point in his history. Anyway, history of problems. Not your greatest client. Michael Cargill is, the dream plaintiff. Super nice guy, well-spoken, professional, business owner, pro-2A, pro-liberty, out of Texas, who, was adhering to every law and just said, but I'm doing it under protest and I want to take it to court. He's the kind of guy you'd give 2 or 3 extra guns to. He's the kind of guy, if he moved into your neighborhood, you'd say, hey, bud, let's go to the range sometime. Yeah, Rahimi, not so much. So, oh, well, we lost that, but that's okay. So far, we're doing pretty well in the current court and the current session, so we'll take it. And please don't be discouraged just because we lost the Rahimi case. That was a big ask to begin with. All righty, beyond that, let's go a little further. Alec Baldwin. Now, as you know, I said right from the get-go, Alec Baldwin pretty much guilty of criminally negligent homicide. Not that he wanted to, but he was negligent, grossly negligent, in that he handled a deadly weapon, a firearm, in a way that is, well, pretty sure to cause death or serious injury. If firearms are inherently dangerous. We need to use a degree of caution with them. He broke every rule of firearms, not only our rules of firearms, but when you look at SAG, he broke SAG rules left and right. Well, His case is scheduled to go July 9th, start jury selection. The last few weeks has been a lot of preliminary motioning and lawyering and everything else. I'm just going to say this. His attorneys have tried everything in their power to get the judge to sort of throw the whole indictment out of court, to dismiss the indictment with prejudice, to go after the prosecution. They've taken a couple of cheap shots at her. It's not working. This judge was the same judge in the Hannah Reid trial, so she's somewhat familiar with the facts. And she wants Alec Baldwin on trial. She was going to be issuing her formal ruling this Friday, but she said she was going through everything today, and she advised both sides, and I quote, "Don't stop preparing for trial because, well, although you don't have a written decision yet, I wouldn't stop preparing for trial." At which point the defense tried to push her a little bit more, and they're not doing him any favors, I don't think. And I mean, Mel, you're the guru in the legal side of this world. I just sort of play with guns. Is it wise before the case even starts to let me see if I can piss off the judge? Because yeah, they did it. They were making all sorts of comments today about how the prosecution was being unfair and trying to make him look bad. And meanwhile, they've got statements from people talking about how he wouldn't pay attention during safety briefings. He was FaceTiming his family. They've got pages and pages of it. I mean, I could do a whole nother show on why Alec Baldwin's getting found guilty. Now, the thing is, he was offered a plea deal. He was offered the same plea deal that the assistant director took, 6 months probation. Hannah was offered that plea deal, was offered the 6 months probation. Hannah's currently in a New Mexico state prison. Hannah has also agreed to testify against Alec. So, yeah, they've got more going after Alec than the jumpsuit. So you can guess how this is going to work for Alec. Yeah, and his attorneys, they've got one local who's gotten the other counsel admitted. He's got a major corporate business law firm from New York. And in part of the discussion today, the judge basically stated that, I understand you're not from around here, but this is how trials work here. So, yeah, but this is normal for New Mexico, but, you may not be familiar with that because you're not from around here. Alec, you should have taken the plea deal. You know that plea deal they offered you before you called the prosecutor bad names in public? Before your attorneys went on record stating that the prosecutor was just trying to make a name for herself? Mm-hmm. Dude, you've got a motivated prosecutor and you pissed off the judge. This is going to be fun to watch. I may even try to stream some of that trial. Yeah, I like Minnie's comment here. I think it fits absolutely perfectly. Yeah, play nice with the person wearing the black robe. And I don't care who it is up on the bench, whether it's male or female, the person in the funny little black dress, they're making the rules. Now, if you don't like their rules, you can appeal it. And I can see that they're already almost trying to do enough right now to give them reason for appeal. And the trial hasn't even started picking a jury yet. I wonder in my gut instinct if Alec is so full of himself, then he believes he could never do any wrong. If this hotshot Manhattan attorney law firm is just trying to bleed him for cash, because how much do you think a hotshot Manhattan law firm is charging to fly a bunch of their attorneys down to New Mexico to try to get Alec out of a jail sentence? I think he could be the biggest cash cow they have. Should have taken the plea deal, Alec. First-year public defender could have told you that, bro. Sorry. And especially now with all the pictures coming out of his finger all over the trigger that he still swears he never pulled, and statements about his careless acts, not only before the shooting of Helena Hutchins, but also subsequently after the shooting of Helena Hutchins. Yeah, they've got statements from people from when they resumed filming up in Montana about how wild and free Alec was with waving a gun around and using it like a laser pointer and telling people where to go with the barrel of a gun. Dude, you just shot somebody. You've already done stupid stuff. Don't get a whole room of people and start waving a gun around in front of them. It doesn't work well. This is not going to end well for you, Alec. Sorry. Okay, what else do we have for tonight? Well, like I started out with, good guys and gals with guns. Now, if you read the description, I get very, very tired of the media, and especially mainstream core media, portraying guns as bad. Guns are a tool. It's simply a metal or polymer, part metal piece of machinery. It's a tool that does something. You think a standard cordless drill. You can use it for wonderful things, for putting in screws, for drilling holes, for bolting things together. You could use it for bad. You can assault someone with it. The drill in and of itself is not good, nor is it bad. Neither is the gun. However, mainstream media loves, and I will say loves, to present the gun as bad, always bad. Blame the gun for everything. Because after all, the more we can blame the gun on it, the less that it's anyone else's fault. Remember, that's not the person who pulled the trigger we blame, it's the gun. We don't sue anyone else, we sue the gun. And unfortunately, the gun can't talk back. So when we look at a lot of these cases of guns being used in bad things, we say, okay, well, there's some bad things that guns are used for, and I'm willing to concede that point. But I'm also willing to concede and stand to the point that there's a hell of a lot of times guns are used for good purposes. The guns have saved lives. The guns have actually kept people alive. And knowing how to use a gun can actually protect you, can save your life. But if the media doesn't talk about it, does it ever really happen? Most of these stories never make it past local media. It's easier to present guns as deadly, gun owners and gun users as homicidal maniacs just wanting to go out and murder the world. Well, let's talk about some stories of good guys and gals with guns. We're going to open in Pensacola, Florida. Back early June, a man had assaulted a woman with a candle holder. Now, they lived together. He was there when she got home. They'd been arguing on and off for 4 or 5 days. The argument began again with him getting physical, trying to physically drag her off the couch onto the floor. Not nice. She gets up. She walks away. She goes to the bedroom, tries to withdraw from the conflict. Smart lady. Best to withdraw if you can. He then follows her into the bedroom, picks up a glass candle holder, and begins hitting her with it. Well, after she is struck with this candle holder, she reaches in her bag on the nightstand, produces a firearm. She fires 1 shot. The suspect then flees. Police found him in a vehicle later, transported him to the ER. He's being held on bond. Now, this one looks pretty simple, cut and dried, and it really is. The bigger thing is she fired 1 shot. Now, is that showing restraint? Did she use the minimum force necessary to stop his attack? She didn't empty the magazine into him. She wasn't trying to murder anybody. She just was tired getting beat over the head with a glass candle holder, and I can't say that I really blame her. So there is a firearms owner, user, using a firearm in a very judicious, intelligent, restrained, appropriate manner. Why don't we hear about this? Media, where are you? We're going to hide all this. It just doesn't happen. We ignore it, put our head in the sand, hope for the best. Okay. Well, we go to this next one, and this is, again, real interesting one. You want to talk about great failures of the criminal justice system? Here you go. This happened the next day, June 5th in Lufkin, Texas. There was an attempted carjacking. Gentleman with his wife and his child in the car went by his local business so he could pick something up. He goes inside, leaves his wife and child in the car. Probably has the car running with the AC on. I'm guessing early June in Lufkin, Texas. They probably need a little air conditioning action. Sounds fair to me. Well, this guy decides he's going to jump in the car. Well, the owner of the car comes out and they end up in a hand-to-hand altercation. Well, gets a little bit more fun because the owner ends up trying to remove the suspect from his vehicle, and eventually the owner ends up shooting the suspect, who's trying to carjack him with his wife and child in the car. Okay, well, I thought I said criminal justice failure. Folks, the gentleman had been released from jail less than an hour earlier, 5 blocks away, for domestic violence and a few other charges and assault and stuff. Folks, they're popping out of jail ready to do their next crime. This guy comes out of jail and he's going to go jack someone's car. Well, fortunately, this gentleman, again, taking on a larger, stronger attacker, was using firearm. Now, again, fires one shot. The gentleman did receive aid on the scene from law enforcement, and then passed away at the hospital a little while later. You know, I hate anyone loses their life. I really do. On the other side of that coin, what could have happened to the wife and kid if this gentleman who just got out of jail for assaultive, violent offenses takes off in the car with them in it? How does that work out? Not well. Again, this guy, businessman, he's not out there looking to cause problem. He's running by his business. But it's another good guy with a gun that the media just forgets these things. They never happen. They never happen. Every person with a gun, they're bad guys. We got to portray guns as the problem and bad guys. Yeah, sure. Well, you would know 4 days later, June 9th. Yeah, we got them tonight. We got a few good guys with gun stories. And this one's kind of interesting. This Plainfield, Illinois, June 9th. A man breaks into his ex's place. He broke through a fence. He forced entry into the house. And once in the house, there are 2 juveniles there, left home alone. She's not there. They retreat to the bedroom when he's forcing his way in the door, kicking in the door. And when he then forces his way into the bedroom and breaks into the bedroom, and these 2 juveniles are cornered, well, one of the juvies armed himself and told him basically, no, and held him at gunpoint. The juvenile, now I didn't get ages or names because they are juveniles, but the juvenile had the restraint not to mag dump, not to empty the mag, not to do anything stupid, but to say no, get down on the ground, and held him at gunpoint until the cops got there. Now, when law enforcement searched him, he was also charged with possession of some white crystalline powder, possibly maybe a little Miami booger sugar, but yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. That's the kind of stuff we've got going on. So, yeah, it's definitely a really interesting adventure. Alrighty. Let's see who else we got here tonight. We got a few more funneling in. Let's see. I see Dear Sarge lurking and listening at work. Appreciate you hitting the thumbs up on the way in. Folks, I always appreciate the thumbs up. You know that. Also, Mel, have you looked at the Micah Miller situation in Myrtle? A lot of interesting firearms issues in that case. I have not looked at that one. Oh, I will definitely dig in on that one. You want to send me a link at some point. I may throw it into the Friday or the Saturday night show I'm going to be doing. Shifty, I see you wandered in. Always nice to hear you coming by and visiting here in the clubhouse. We're having a little bit of fun tonight. Doing the, nice good guys with the gun stream tonight, and going to be doing the crazy stuff a little bit later. It's probably going to be a Saturday show when we do the next booze stream, because we're going to be booze cruising on Saturday. Folks, I'm sorry, by the way, I haven't been doing a lot of streams recently. The schedule on night shift has been kind of interesting, so Definitely keeps me hopping. Alrighty, yep. Well, can definitely touch base on that one later. Um, we'll see what I can find out on that. Who knows? We'll have a little bit of fun with that one. So far, let's look at these first three cases. We've got man assaulting a woman in her home with a candle holder. His boyfriend, hubby, whatever, don't know. She fires one shot, enough to get him to flee. She showed restraint. Maybe we're not all the murderous psychopaths they try to make us out to be. Maybe the fact of owning a firearm for self protection is not what they try to portray us as. Maybe the media's got us all wrong. Let's see here. Then we have again that carjacking in Lufkin, Texas. The guy tries to physically remove the man from the truck that his wife and child are in. You know, if you're like trying to take my vehicle and my wife and kid are in it, the fact that the guy fired only one shot, you got lucky, bro. Unfortunately, he's succumbed to that later. This one, two juveniles showed the restraint. They hold the suspect at gunpoint. They didn't fire. They didn't do anything reckless, anything stupid. Don't know if they had any training or not. Don't know what they knew or could do. But what we do know is they did it right. Now, you'll listen, and we need to lock all these guns up, and having a firearm in the home makes you more likely. I mean, they can come up with all these great numbers and statistics. And, you know, the Surgeon General was trying to say today that he thinks firearms are a public health risk. And, you know, when the government decides something is a public health risk, that's their cue to trample all over the Constitution. So, yeah, let's see how that works for them. I got another one. This one was out of Malta, New York. That's upstate. A man forced his way into a mobile home. Didn't know anyone who lived there, but physically attacked the residents. Well, the man ended up getting subdued with a 12-gauge shotgun. The suspect is no longer with us. His birth certificate was revoked. Again, we look at what's going on with this, and, you know, one more time that we should be doing better. Well said, ma'am. Yes. And folks, is there any wonder why she is my most favorite mouse? And she's even said good evening to you. But yeah, I get to the point with this, you know, really interesting. Now, I'm going to warn you as I go into this next one, a little bit of a trigger warning. This one is the shit that nightmares are made of. I will sanitize it as much as I can and still sort of get my point across. Comes out of Rockford, Maryland, June 15th. Man wakes up in the middle of the night. His 11-year-old daughter is screaming. Let's see here. 3 a.m. A 24-year-old male had broken into the house. The suspect broke into the house, stripped to his underwear, went to the kitchen and took a rather large knife from the kitchen drawer, wandered through the house, saw where the husband and wife were sleeping, decided that was too difficult of a target, went to the 11-year-old child's room, removed his underwear, crawled on top of her, and began stabbing her. Well, Daddy wakes up to his 11-year-old screeching. The suspect basically gets held at gunpoint by the father. Now, you want to talk about getting held at gunpoint by the father, you know, what are you going to do? Let's see. Yeah, that's one of those moments. Definitely. Alrighty. Eric, welcome aboard. I think you're new here. We try to do streams 1-2 times a week. We try to get out the good guy with the gun stories, the good girl with the gun stories. The fact that most firearms owners and most 2A people aren't out there trying to murder, kill, or shoot up the world. We're trying to be able to protect ourselves. Like this gentleman who had to go rushing into his 11-year-old daughter's bedroom to find a naked man on top of her, stabbing her with a knife. Yeah, If this man does not have a firearm, could the child have been killed? Could he have been killed by a 24-year-old psycho with a knife, a kitchen knife? But yeah. And this, again, Mel, you said it, and I said the same thing. If you walked in on a naked man on top of your 11-year-old daughter, there would be no question of restraint. And again, that would be even without actually, him stabbing her. Remember, he's actively stabbing her with a knife. Again, if I don't have any kids, if that was my kid, my 5.7 by 28 that's got 23 plus one, I'd probably be pretty low on ammo at that moment. I'm not saying I'd dump the whole mag, but I put it this way, I would get that Mozambique drill done very effectively. And then some. Yeah. The suspect admitted he's got no known connection to the family whatsoever. He just walking down the street, broke into a house at random, went into the kitchen at random, stripped down to his skivvies, grabbed a kitchen knife, went wandering through the house, saw the family asleep, walked into the 11-year-old's room, dropped his drawers, and jumped on top of her and started stabbing the heck out of her. Daddy held him at gunpoint, did not fire a round. Yeah, I agree. It takes an amazing amount of discipline. And, the other side of it, and I will say this, he wouldn't be getting them in the arm from me. I'd be center of body mass and I would be magging dumping. I mean, I got news for you. Even, like I said, I catch you in my house with a knife, much less naked on top of my child. But again, this man, Rockford, Michigan, he used good restraint, held the guy at gunpoint, and, did what he had to do and held him at gunpoint. So law enforcement got there. Good to know the child did survive. She did require surgery for wounds to her arm and shoulder area from the stabbing. But, these are all good guys and girls with guns who are showing amazing restraint, doing it right, absolutely, fantastic. And yes, I totally agree, Minnie. He does deserve a medal because I think everyone else in the room, and I know there's about 10 of us here between YouTube and Rumble, I think everybody else here would definitely be all for revoking this idiot's birth certificate with extreme prejudice. Yeah. I mean, at what point do we do this? But the thing is, you go through the history of these, with the exception of the one that, was a carjacker, the one up in New York. Somebody forced their way into the house. Somebody they had no connection with forced their way into the house. The one in Illinois, okay, at least it was the ex's house. There was some connection. This one forces their way into a house, no known connection. Don't know if he was high, stupid, stoned, what, but that's the stuff to me that just blows my mind. And the reason it does so much is, folks, it's like so random. I mean, if someone's out to get me and I know they're out to get me, I can take steps. But when you think the only reason this house was chosen is because he decided to choose it instead of the one across the street or the one next door, that's wild. But these people, these 2A members, protectors, defenders, whatever, they're the ones we don't hear about. We can hear about every mainstream media story from every anti-gun group who wants to cry like rats eating onions over the fact of gun bad, gun cause bad. How many of these people are alive? How many times are their child or their wife alive? Because of what? Because somebody had A, a firearm, B, the ability to use it to protect themselves and their family. And, that's where, not to come back and not to dwell on it too much, but I'm going to say it again just because, well, I kind of got to. that's where people like, again, you know, Carrie Sloan is, absolutely wonderful with what she does with the public between, her organization over at We the Female. And that's, why she and I definitely get along the way we do as far as chatting and everything else. I haven't had a chance to teach with her or run a class with her, but from that standpoint, you know, you've got to give her a lot of respect because she does go out and she helps people. She empowers people to be those defenders, to be the one who will actually step up in the bad situation. So, yeah. And again, happy 50th to our dear friend, Carrie Sloan. Like I said, I knew she was going to get the big 5-0 salute today. So I'm a little bit late, but that's all right. With the way the streaming schedule has run recently, it is what it is. So beyond that, let's see here. Come back over. See, I'm actually learning the Rumble Studio even a little bit better than I was. So that's always a nice thing. We're going to be looking at a couple of other streams coming up, a couple of other options coming up. Scheduling is a little bit wonky right now. We're definitely, this is the Tuesday night show. We're knocking it out. I'm going to be back on Friday or on Saturday night with a longer show, dealing with a few incidents that have happened recently. May also be covering the one that Mel mentioned. If you're looking for more information on any of this stuff or more information on some of the stuff we cover, if you want information, you can always check over on our Twitter feed or on our locals page. I try my best to put a lot of the court documents up on locals just because it's easy for me to download PDFs and share them over there. If you're looking for more information on classes and you're in the Southeast, if you know nothing about firearms and say, hey, look, I just want to start learning the basics. I want someone to sit down and teach me about this stuff. Folks, holler at me. I'm a firm believer, like I said, not only, in what Carrie does for females. I don't care whether you're female, male, black, white, straight, gay, trans, identified, whatever. I could really care less. We need to learn, and we all need to be able to protect ourselves, protect our families. Enough is enough with this BS. We have a couple other cases I'm pulled up here. And I mean, you just look at the fact I have not had to really go out on a limb to say, oh boy, how would I ever find a case of a good guy with a gun or a good girl with a gun? They're almost every day. And, that home invasion in Plainfield, 2 juveniles. I don't know how much training they had, but they did everything right. They retreated, they barricaded, and when confronted and could go no further, they went ahead and put the man out at gunpoint. So gotta love it. Another one we had, this is out of June 20th in Dauberville, Mississippi. Homeowner fatally shot a man who drove to the property, brandished a firearm in a threatening manner. The man had threatened the homeowner on previous occasions, was threatening to break into the house. Homeowner goes ahead, shoots, fires one shot, and the suspect was found deceased in the driveway. One shot stop. Again, none of these people did anything crazy or outrageous. They defended themselves. They defended their home, their castle, their family. Gun owners are not the problem in the world. Now, I want to mention something that's a little bit of light reading or not so light reading. We hear a lot about school shootings, and we hear a lot about different situations involving mass shootings, mass public shootings, all this stuff. If you ever want to figure out if gun control will work or not, or if the system can protect you and your family or not, I recommend absolutely reading this one, Why Meadow Died. Now, I'm not an Amazon affiliate. I don't get no money from Amazon for this. It's written by Andrew Pollack, who, and then he had a author help him on it, but Andrew Pollack, his daughter, Meadow, was killed in the Parkland school shooting in Florida. The one that made little Davy so famous and got little Davy his admission to Harvard, and so now he can try to take everyone's guns away. This book, and again, title Why Meadow Died, the people, policies that created the Parkland shooter and endanger America's students. Folks, if you've got kids in school, public schools especially, you need to know about this stuff. The Parkland shooting was absolutely positively the Swiss cheese model. Enough things went wrong in a row, enough failures in a row by the system that it led to the end result was the shooting. Had any one of those things not happened, those policies, had the school taken the threats more seriously, had law enforcement taken the threats more seriously, had the feds taken the threats more seriously, because, yeah, he was known to everything, maybe wouldn't have happened. This gentleman went afterwards and researched, not to sit and blame one person, not to sit and do anything else. He did a deep dive investigation into the failures of the system that cost him his little girl. It's, a little bit of a tearjerker and a little bit of a get your ire up book, but as somebody who reads these things and who researches these things, it definitely tripped a couple of triggers on my mind. Because you know what? First of all, it should never have happened. And when you realize that everything that was there that was supposed to protect these kids didn't. So that was what that was. I think that's about all I've got for tonight. We've laughed at Alec Baldwin, and we're going to laugh at him more when he gets convicted. His attorneys are just not making any friends on the bench in New Mexico. And like I said, the person sitting up in the front of the room wearing the funny black dress, he sort of definitely has more of a say, or she has more of a say. Mary says he'd be dead me. I'm assuming you're talking about the one, if you walked into some idiot naked stabbing your 11-year-old child, yeah. And Eric, I see you down there in the ATL. Hey, if you ever up around, I'm in upstate South Carolina in Greenville area. If you ever find your way up here, you just holler at me. If I'm off, we'll go out to the range. Anything you want to learn, anything I can do, say the word. I am totally up for it. I'm a firm believer in those of us who do end up playing with all sorts of wonderful, fun firearms. We need to share that knowledge with everybody. We need to do what we can to help other people learn. We need to bring other people into the club along the way, because the more we can do to help them learn, help them be safe, help them protect themselves, their family, their friends, the world's going to be safer. Because I can promise you this. Reading this book, I won't say it takes away a lot of my faith in law enforcement. It takes my faith in the ability of law enforcement to ride around in my pocket. And I'll tell you this, a long time ago, I listened to a couple of audio tapes of people actually calling 911 with people breaking into their houses. Now, when you hear that terror in their voice and you sit there and the first thing you think about is, God, I wish they had something. God, I wish they had something. Okay. And laws of physics, you can only get a patrol car and a cop somewhere so fast, and half the time they're tied up and shorthanded and defunded and everything else. Yeah. On the other side of that coin, we can't necessarily have Scotty beam them down. But when you listen to the terror in someone's voice, knowing that you're just hoping the cops can get there in time. Interesting recordings. And it makes you think of, okay, why not? One more thing I want to bring up before we close out tonight. And this is sort of a semi-unplanned, sort of a shoot from the hip. A friend of mine posted up yesterday on Facebook, FaceSpace, whatever we call it, Facebook. And she And I'm just going to read exactly what she wrote here because it was, enough that it got my um, aggravation going a little bit. I'm as themed as a tea kettle. Just had 2 teens try to carjack me in daylight. They better be glad my door was locked. I'm not the one. Now I got to get this little kettle cooled off. This young lady got home from work, was backed into her own parking place at her apartment complex, and 2 people walked up and tried to open the door of her vehicle forcibly. Um, she is someone who has very, very little firearms training and experience. Someone I've offered and told, you need to get out there. We need to get out to the range. Someone I've talked to a couple times about going out to do it. That one of her friends says, "Where was this at?" She says, "At my apartment. I just backed in. Car's still running. Watched them walk up to my car. That's why I always sat and check things out when I park." Her apartment complex, her parking lot, her home. These 2 kids walked up on her. And, a lot of people said, yeah, that's why I carry, blah, 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 blah. Surrounded by nothing but stupid. She said all she could do is start blowing the horn, asking one of the kids what the F he thought he was doing. So, yeah, there you go. That's a friend of mine. Now, that's a friend of mine who I've suggested multiple times. This is someone I've known 5 years. Now, we've never dated or anything. I mean, she's married to some other guy. Who cares? But someone I've known for 5+ years, who I told her, we need to get out to the range. We need to go. Come on, we need to get out to the range. She's got every reason in the world not to. She's always busy or whatever. Yeah. I saw that post and I sent her a private message. When are we going to the range? When are we going to the range? Yeah. Mel knows. Yeah. I'll stay persistent. Mary, yeah, you're a little far away. Sorry, can't drag you up here to the range. Yeah. But yeah. That just basically blew my mind. Oh well. Let's see. I see got here. Eric has said, yep, you're in Greenville a lot, driving trucks across the country. Yeah. And again, I don't know if you drive for yourself, man, or if you work for a company. I don't know what their policies are, but when I was driving a lot back and forth around the country and transporting vehicles for National Car Rental, I know what the company policy was, and I knew what my policy was too. Yeah. The worst National can do is fire me. They can't kill me. So I'll just leave with that one. Alrighty. Well, I'm thinking that is about all I've got tonight. Just want to throw this one out there. As always, we try to support Blackout Coffee because they are one of our wonderful, wonderful sponsors, and they actually support the Second Amendment. If you didn't know, Blackout Coffee has got various different blends, including the one down here on the bottom right, No Compromise. That's a GOA blend. So if you buy that, you throw a couple of bucks towards the people over at GOA. The one up in the top left corner is from the Second Amendment Foundation. Of course, we've got the 1776 Liberty Foundation in there, as well as several others. I believe I've got one blend in there in the kitchen from the Firearm Policy Coalition. Yeah, FPC blend. All of these brands, all these blends support the 2A. Blackout supports us. I did ad reads for a long time for Coffee Brand Coffee, and I'm not going to say the Coffee Brand Coffee doesn't have good stuff or I don't like their stuff. I will say I really do like Blackout, and to go one step further, when I can support something that supports the Second Amendment and supports the people who do battle for me, and they've got all these wonderful flavors, nutty Java, Irish cream, blueberry crumble, cinnamon French toast, which we all know how Mel gets about that thing. And let's see, she also tried the hazelnut cream this week, so she's apparently all high on that one right now. So yeah, definitely, we love our Blackout coffee, and they do wonders for the 2A. They support us, and if they're going to support us, hey, we'll go ahead and we'll support them because hey, it's always good. So Eric, yeah, I keep Smith and Wesson 40 with me at all times. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's anything I can do to help with any of this. Please feel free, reach out. My stuff's out there, my email's out there. I firmly believe we've got 2 or 3 ranges that I can teach at around here, indoor, outdoor, whatever. And my thing is, I've carried a gun for 30 years. I'm pretty comfortable with it, 30 plus years. And from that standpoint, it's something that I enjoy doing. But I decided about 10, 12 years ago, I need to start sharing knowledge with everyone else. I need to get, more people out there carrying. I need to teach people, again, be their own first responder, whether it's medically or from a standpoint of firearm self-defense, do what I can. Let's see. What's Mel? Ooh, yes, thank you for reminding me, dear. See, that is why it is my most favorite mouse. She does so wonderful. Couple people had mentioned setting up a PayPal as far as stuff like that. If y'all want to contribute to the channel, contribute to the stuff we do, I did set up a quickie PayPal just because, if you want to do something like this, folks, I appreciate it. I know some of the streams, Rumble gets like, I think 20 or 25%. If you go on YouTube, I think they take 30 something percent. I don't even think YouTube has got me approved to be monetized yet. They don't typically like content like this. But, from that standpoint, if you feel generous, you got a couple of extra bucks lying around, I can always use it. And again, help sort of set off some of the content and do some of the stuff we do here. Otherwise, beyond that, folks, I definitely appreciate your evening. Hope you've enjoyed it. And I will leave you with the ever lovely and talented Madam Sarah Gonzalez.